Okay, from neighborhood strolls to trips to the dog park, there are definitely do's and don'ts when it comes to walking your dog. Here to share tips for dog walking etiquette, we welcome back Canine Behavior Specialist, Brie Blakeman. So good to see you, and reintroduce us to your furry friend here.
This is Yuka.
Yuka is such a gorgeous girl and so well behaved. So let's talk about how much exercise dogs actually need, because it's been pretty warm outside.
Yeah.
We're trying to get out there as much as we can, but not every breed is the same.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing to know, is that it really depends, and to consult with your veterinarian because it depends on your dog's age, their size, their breed, what they were bred to do. On an average, if you have a larger breed adult dog, we're looking at probably 2 20-minute bouts of cardio.
Okay.
1 to 2, depending. Again, speak with your vet. But when it's really hot like this, right, we really need to be mindful of how we're meeting those exercise needs.
We're adjusting everything to take the heat into account. So let's talk about on a typical day. For some dogs, just a neighborhood stroll isn't going to get it done, but for some, that might be all that they need.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to walks in the neighborhood, you're not really meeting your dog's cardio needs, but you are meeting important enrichment needs for some dogs. But that's only true if you walk them on a longer leash. This is a 8-foot Trailblazing Tails biothane leash. And if I'm walking my dog, she's out in front of me, and her nose is to the ground most of the time.
She's exploring.
Yeah, and that's actually going to get me a calmer, more relaxed dog when I get home than trying to hustle her along. Because the pace I walk at is not meeting any exercise needs for her.
That makes sense. But we should let them sniff and check everything out as much as we can.
Absolutely. That's really a large portion of their brain is dedicated to the olfactory system. So that's important.
Let's talk about, as we mentioned, hot weather. Getting up early in the morning is often the best time for a lot of pups to keep them safe outside.
Absolutely. Yep, getting up early. I mean, when temperatures rise to even as low as 77 degrees, the asphalt can climb to up to 125 degrees. So if it's too hot for you to stand on with your own bare feet for really just 11 seconds, it's too hot for your dog to walk on. So getting out early is really important. And to meet those cardio needs, think more like getting out in nature. We're all nature deprived, and that's especially true for dogs. So the more you can get out in shaded tree areas or around rivers with lots of water sources and hike, that's what you really want to try and aim for.
Places they can really expend some really good energy. And you have some ideas for some cool gadgets that could help us as well.
Yes, absolutely. So as you see, I have a double-coated dog. She's a Siberian Husky. Does not do well in heat.
That's a lot of fur.
It's a lot of fur. So I think it's important for folks to know that dogs don't sweat. They regulate through panting. However, we can kind of fake it for them by putting a cooling vest on them that holds water. So you can wet down that cooling vest. The air circulates underneath it. The cooling vest cools that air, and it helps keep them cooler. So that's one gadget I really, really like. Anytime I go out with a dog, I want a water bottle that easily dispenses water into a cup that they can drink out of. Always having lots of water available is very, very important. Gosh, what else? If you, for whatever reason, have to walk your dog in the middle of the day due to work restrictions, making sure that your dog is conditioned to booties that protect their paws. So they're not burning their paws on that pavement, and then really keeping it quite short. So those are some of the main things that I will reach for. You can also get neck gaiters that you can cool off for your dog, or wet down to keep them cool if your dog doesn't like wearing a full vest.
There's so many great products out there, so to find out kind of what works for them and what they're comfortable using, because they'll let you know if something's bugging them.
They sure will.
Let's talk about etiquette when you're on a walk. Let's say a typical sidewalk interaction, passing another dog. What should we prepare for and watch for to make sure everybody has a good experience?
The number one thing I want to say is to obey leash laws. They're there for a reason. Even if you have an extremely friendly and kind dog, most dogs don't want to be approached when they're on leash. It makes them very uncomfortable. And gosh, you really can't prevent your dog from being a dog, and all it takes is one squirrel for them to run across the street and get hit by a car.
It's really scary.
Making sure that your dog is on leash is number one. And then I would say, kind of circling back to, most dogs don't want to be approached. Even if they're friendly off leash, just cross the street. Try not to pass each other really close by. That puts a lot of pressure on dogs. And a lot of dogs and people have trauma around being attacked. And so that can be extremely stressful for either the dog, the person, or both. So if you can't cross the street, what we recommend is, when you're approaching, making a very wide C curve to create some distance and a buffer between the two dogs. Even putting yourself between your dog and the next dog can help. But even if you're not worried about your dog being uncomfortable in a on-leash encounter on a walk, a lot of people want their dog to be focused on them when they're out in the world. And it's actually incredibly confusing from a behavior and training perspective if your dog thinks that they always get to greet another dog or person when they're on walks. So their focus is, you know, on the horizon of where they might be able to greet another dog or person. So making sure that you set clear expectations for them, that when that leash is on, it's a cue for us to collaborate together. You're with me, we're taking a walk together.
That's great.
And just reward them for lots of attention when they do see another dog.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What about dog park? That's another opportunity where kind of anything can happen. You have to be paying attention the whole time, first of all. That's a big one I see.
You really do. Yeah, and I unfortunately, when I watch people at dog parks, the biggest problem I see is that people are scrolling on their phones, or stagnant, talking to other people and not paying attention to their dogs. A lot of dogs don't like dog parks. You know, I like to relate it to us as people. There was a time in my life when maybe I enjoyed going to nightclubs, enjoyed going out and dancing, and as I matured, that became of less interest. There's nothing behaviorally wrong with me that I'm not as social or extroverted as I was before, and that happens with dogs too.
Makes sense.
So minding the fact that sometimes there's dogs at dog parks that don't actually want to be there, it does create kind of a breeding ground for behavioral issues.
It's tough.
So getting to know canine body language, making sure that if you do go to a dog park, you choose one that's really more of an open, off-leash, natural area. It's not super small and confined. And really making sure that you keep it very short.
Yes.
Dogs do not need to run around at a dog park for an hour.
And
like,
we're
talking
an exhausted toddler on your hands, and that's no good either.
You know, So keeping it 20 minutes max. And constantly be assessing the park before you enter.
All great stuff. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. It was great to see both of you again.
Thank you so much for having us.
This girl is always just perfectly behaved every single time. We'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.